This is Sunday Reflections, What the Pond Can Teach Us. I'm Gideon Pollack, and each week I write these reflections from St. John's Episcopal Church in Cold Spring Harbor, New York, where our beloved church sits alongside a beautiful mill pond. Throughout the years now, we've been watching our pond and watershed and letting them teach us about prayer, participation, and what it means to be creatures made from earth. Whether you're walking past your own water source right now or sitting quietly at home, I invite you to join me in this week's reflection. What looks back? The snow is mostly gone, but the pond hasn't quite decided what it wants to be. Not ice, not open water, something in between. Gray and uncertain, the kind of landscape that makes you long for resolution in either direction. Colder, so it would commit to being ice. Warmer, so it would open to clarity. Instead, the pond is just sitting there, neither one thing nor the other, waiting. I find myself standing at the edge more than usual this week trying to read it. The heron is already back at its post, unbothered by the ambiguity. It simply stands in whatever the pond is and waits. I've been carrying a story since I spent a week away with my family in Cancun just before the storms. I know, a rector returning from a tropical vacation to preach about Lent requires some good explanation. So bear with me. We spent some time near the Gulf of Mexico watching birds I didn't recognize. Magnificent frigate birds riding thermals without a wing beat. Brown pelicans folded into dives with improbable elegance. And then a dove landed near me, and I thought, I know you, mourning dove. Familiar. Common. A bird I've watched my whole life. Except it wasn't. It was a Eurasian collared dove, a cousin, nearly identical, carrying its own history across a different ocean. I'd stopped looking because I thought I already knew what I was seeing. The pond has been teaching me this all winter, and apparently I needed a reminder from a bird in Mexico. The moment that stayed with me most, though, wasn't the frigate birds. It was a grackle. Great-tailed, iridescent, bold. The grackles at the cafe had learned that tourists mean corn chips, and they worked the tables with cheerful confidence. All of them except one. This one kept approaching and stopping. Approaching, stopping, coming back, leaving again. I couldn't figure out what was different until I realized that we had made eye contact. The other grackles were stealing from furniture. This one was stealing from a person, and apparently that changed everything. We watched each other for a long time. He kept leaving, he kept coming back, and then, eventually, he didn't come back. The wariness won. I've been thinking about that grackle ever since because I think I know that feeling. The approach and the retreat, the longing to be close, and the fear of being truly seen. Lent is a season that names this, the slow, sometimes painful process of allowing ourselves to be known, not the version of ourselves we manage and present, but the actual creature at the table, caught in the act of being exactly who we are. What strikes me is the asymmetry. The grackle was wary of me, but I was not wary of the grackle. I wasn't there to take anything. I would have been glad if he'd stayed. I would have been happy to share my corn chips. He made the day more pleasant just by being there, approaching, retreating, working up his courage, all of it. He didn't need to perform or earn the chip. I just liked his company. The wilderness God, the one who travels with Israel through the desert, who accompanies Jesus through 40 days of exposure and temptation, that God is not a wary God. The tradition insists on this, even when we find it hard to believe that this is a God, ours is a God, who looks on us with something closer to adoration than judgment, who sees us clearly all the way down and doesn't leave, who watches us approach and retreat and approach again, and finds our company pleasant. God would gladly share the table if we'd only stay. The heron is back at the pond's edge as I write this. The snow is almost gone, and the water isn't open yet. And somewhere on the Gulf of Mexico, I imagine a grackle is working a cafe table, approaching strangers, leaving, coming back, learning in his own way that the gaze he fears is the one that longs to feed and accompany him. Lent is learning the courage to stay. A prayer. God of the wilderness and the watching, you see us more clearly than we see ourselves and do not look away. You have traveled every desert we have crossed, and you are not surprised by what you find there. Teach us to remain in your gaze without flinching, to be known without fleeing, to receive your patient, adoring attention as the gift it truly is. May we be less like the grackle who finally stops returning, and more like the one who discovers, one approach at a time, that the presence across the table is not a threat, but a welcome. Through Christ, who looked at Peter in the courtyard and did not say a word, and whose look was not condemnation, but the most unbearable tenderness. Amen. I hope this reflection gives you new eyes to see the creation around you this week. If you'd like to continue the conversation, find us at www.stjcsh.org. If you'd like to support our ministry, there are opportunities to do so there. This week, if something looks back at you, a bird, a stranger, a mysterious silence, consider staying. Until next Sunday, peace be with you.